On the very day I returned home, my would-be mother-in-law slapped a check across my face. $5 million. Walk away from my son. I've dealt with gold diggers before who think a pregnancy can lock a man down. You're not nearly as smart as you believe. Before I could say a word, a girl in a white dress shrank behind her, clutching her sleeve with trembling fingers, her eyes brimming with tears. Mrs. Sterling, please don't do this. What if Adrian finds out? And if he truly cares about her, I'm willing to step aside. I let out a soft laugh. So that was the story she had written for me. A calculating woman trying to steal her man. I bent down, picked up the check, and tucked it neatly into the deep neckline of Lily Bennett's dress. Here, a tip. Your performance wasn't bad. Then I pulled out my black card and flicked it onto the table. Ma'am, I'll offer you $10 million. Keep your son on a leash and tell him to stop bothering me. I find him revolting. I paused, then added lightly. Oh, and one more thing. I gestured toward the delicate little flower she was guarding so carefully. The girl you're protecting? My father brought her home last year. His illegitimate daughter. If anyone thinks they're joining my family, they should probably ask the Bennetts for permission first. Chapter 1. The moment I finished speaking, Victoria Sterling's expression tightened. Only briefly. She had spent decades navigating the business world. Composure was second nature to her. Within a second, her usual air of superiority slipped back into place. Her gaze flicked to the black card on the table, and she gave a cold, dismissive laugh. $10 million? At least try to make it sound believable. You think flashing some random card makes you an heiress? They hand those things out like flyers. That trick might fool someone else, but not me. Behind her, my dear half-sister Lily Bennett burst into tears as if on cue. She clung to Victoria's arm, her voice trembling. Please don't blame her, Mrs. Sterling. She must have had a hard time abroad. Maybe that's why she cares so much about appearances and says things she can't prove. This is all my fault. If I hadn't come back, Adrian wouldn't have noticed me, and Claire wouldn't hate me so much. So fragile, so selfless, so perfectly rehearsed. In just a few sentences, she turned me into a bitter, unstable woman who had failed overseas, while quietly emphasizing her closeness to Adrian. According to her version of events, I was nothing more than a jealous ex-girlfriend lashing out. And Victoria bought every word. She patted Lily's hand, her expression softening before turning ice cold again as she looked at me. Did you hear that? Even after everything you've done, Lily is still defending you. Compared to someone like her, you're not even in the same league. Her voice hardened further. I don't care what you are to your father, illegitimate daughter, stray, whatever label you preferred. IT has nothing to do with this Sterling family, but let me be very clear. Adrian is my only son. We do not welcome shameless liars into this family. Take the $5 million and disappear. I nearly laughed at the performance unfolding in front of me. I was about to respond when the cafe door was shoved open. A familiar figure strode in. Adrian! He walked straight over, first glancing at Lily, still crying, then at his mother's furious expression. Only after that did he look at me, his brows drawn tight. Claire Bennett, have you caused enough trouble? That accusation was even more absurd than the check. Before I could respond, Lily had already slipped out of Victoria's arms and hurried to Adrian, tears streaming down her face. Adrian, please don't blame Claire. She didn't mean it. She just misunderstood us. Adrian placed his hands gently on her shoulders, his voice instantly softening. You're too kind, Lily. You don't need to explain anything for her. Once he had comforted her, he turned back to me. The warmth in his expression vanished, replaced by impatience. My mother isn't well, and Lily has always been delicate. If you're upset, take it out on me. Why bring this here and make things harder for them? Chapter 2. I crossed my arms and leaned back against the sofa, meeting his gaze without a hint of warmth. Adrian, what exactly did you see just now? Your mother has been waving a check in my face, telling me to disappear, while your precious Lily stood beside her adding fuel to the fire. And the moment you walk in, you blame me without asking a single question. Is this the trust you promised me when you were overseas? His expression stiffened. For once, he had no immediate reply. Victoria stepped forward at once, placing herself in front of him. And you have the nerve to bring that up? If you hadn't used those cheap tricks to seduce my son overseas, he never would have lost his senses over you. I came today to clean up this mess. Apologize to me and Lily right now, or don't blame me for what happens next. Apologize. I let out a short laugh. You want me to apologize to a woman who tried to buy me off, and to an illegitimate daughter who stole my boyfriend? Victoria raised her hand. Mom. Adrian cut in quickly, stopping her. He took a breath, then looked at me with something close to pleading. Claire, I'm asking you, just apologize and let this go, okay? My mom's upset. She didn't mean everything she said, and Lily, she's still young. She doesn't understand things fully. Don't hold it against her. I stared at him. In that moment, everything became painfully clear. The man in front of me wasn't just weak. He was cowardly. Whatever warmth I had left for him went cold. I stood up slowly, picked up the black card, and walked over. Before he could react, I raised my hand and struck his face with it. Adrian Sterling, you, your mother, and your Lily truly are a perfect match. Consider that your wake-up call. We're done. That was enough to push Victoria past her limit. The moment she saw the mark on his face, she lunged forward, grabbing my handbag and shouting at the top of her voice. My brooch. My sapphire brooch is gone. You stole it. The accusation exploded through the cafe. Every head turned. Victoria immediately faced the crowd, her voice breaking into dramatic sobs. Everyone look at her. She couldn't trap my son, so now she's stealing from me. That brooch was an anniversary gift from my husband. It's worth over $2 million. Lily covered her mouth, eyes wide. The picture of shock, though the satisfaction beneath it wasn't entirely hidden. Claire, how could you? Mrs. Sterling cherished that brooch. Were things really that bad for you overseas? You could have told me. I would have helped you. Why would you do something like this? Every word was carefully placed, painting me as a desperate woman driven to theft. Adrian looked at me, disappointment replacing anger. Claire Bennett, I really misjudged you. I thought you were just difficult. I didn't think you would steal. Where is my mother's brooch? Give it back. I looked at the three of them. Perfectly in sync, twisting truth and lies without missing a beat. The last trace of patience I had left disappeared. Are you certain I took it? I asked evenly. If not you, then who? Victoria snapped, gripping my bag tighter. You're the only suspicious one here. The commotion quickly drew mall security, along with a middle-aged man in a suit wearing a manager's badge. The moment Victoria saw him, she pointed at me sharply. Mr. Collins, there's a thief in your mall. Detain her immediately. Take her to the VIP lounge. I'll search her myself. Escorted by security, I was invited to the VIP lounge. Victoria settled onto the main sofa like she had already won, calmly sipping the tea her assistant handed her. Lily leaned against Adrian like a frightened bird, stealing occasional glances at me, timid, fragile, and barely hiding her satisfaction. Chapter 3. Mr. Collins stood in front of Victoria, practically drenched in sweat, his smile strained with eagerness. Mrs. Sterling, please don't be upset. Grand Arcadia Mall will absolutely give you a satisfactory resolution. Would you like us to call the police? The police? Victoria let out a short, cold laugh and set her teacup down with deliberate calm. Her gaze dragged slowly across my face. That would be far too lenient. A criminal record would only invite gossip that people saying my son once dated a thief. The Sterling family doesn't tolerate that kind of disgrace. She paused, her expression sharpening. I want her searched, her bag and her person. Let everyone see exactly what kind of low-class liar she really is. A body search. So this was where we were headed. Public humiliation, plain and simple. Mr. Collins hesitated. Mrs. Sterling, that would violate store policy. We're not authorized to conduct personal searches. Victoria cut him off without a second thought. Mr. Collins, shall I remind you how much the Sterling family spends here every year? If you choose to protect a thief today, you'll deal with the consequences yourself. That was enough. The last of his hesitation vanished. He turned to me, his tone suddenly stiff and official. Miss, if you want to prove your innocence, I suggest you cooperate. Otherwise, we'll have no choice but to involve the police. I looked around the room. At Victoria's cold arrogance. At Lily Bennett's barely concealed satisfaction. At Adrian Sterling's distant indifference. At Mr. Collins, bending himself into whatever shape power demanded. Fine, I said evenly. I'll cooperate. I stepped up to the coffee table and, under everyone's watchful gaze, began emptying my Hermes limited edition bag. Wallet. Keys. Phone. Lipstick. Tissues. Each item placed neatly in front of me. Nothing else. Victoria frowned, unwilling to accept defeat. She strode forward, grabbed my bag, and turned it inside out, even running her fingers along every seam. Still nothing. That's impossible, she snapped. Then it must be on her. Her eyes dropped to my jacket. I was wearing a sharply tailored Chanel blazer. Ignoring the security guards at my sides, I met her gaze and Lily's and let a faint smile curl at my lips. You really want to see? Without breaking eye contact, I slipped my hand into my pocket. The room seemed to fall completely silent. When I withdrew my hand, a sapphire brooch rested in my palm. Deep blue, luminous, cold as ice. Ah, Lily gasped before she could stop herself. She quickly covered her mouth, her eyes reddening again. Claire, how could you? Victoria lit up with triumph, her voice rising sharply. You see that? Caught red-handed. I knew it. She's a thief. Mr. Collins exhaled in relief and immediately signaled to security. 2 guards stepped forward, positioning themselves on either side of me. The room filled with silent judgment. Adrian stared at me, whatever hesitation he'd had completely gone. He stepped closer, his voice calm, almost detached, like a verdict already decided. Claire Bennett, I gave you a chance. Now that you've been caught, what else do you have to say? Disgust flickered in his eyes. Why would you do this? Because my mother disapproved? Because Lily made you jealous? So you staged this pathetic stunt for revenge. His voice hardened. You've disappointed me. I looked at him. Really looked at him. And then I laughed. Chapter 4. Adrian froze, frowning. What's so funny? You're finished and you still think this is amusing? I'm laughing, I said, the smile fading from my face, because you're pathetic. I met his gaze calmly. 2 women are playing you from start to finish, and you're still standing here acting like some righteous judge. Do you have any idea how ridiculous you look? What nonsense. Victoria cut in sharply. The evidence is right there, and you're still trying to argue your way out of it? Clearly, you won't stop until you're forced to. Mr. Collins, call the police. Wait. I raised a hand, stopping him just as he reached for his phone. My gaze swept across the room before settling on him. Mr. Collins, you've been managing this mall for 5 years, haven't you? He blinked, caught off guard, but nodded anyway. Yes, just over 5 years. Why? 5 years is a long time. I picked up the brooch and turned it slowly between my fingers, my tone light. Then you should know who the majority shareholder of Grand Arcadia Mall is. His expression shifted, subtly but unmistakably. Victoria snapped, impatient. Stop stalling. Saying random things won't save you. I ignored her. This brooch, I continued, is an imitation of Cartier's limited edition Heart of the Ocean from last fall. Only 3 were made worldwide. Each one has its own anti-counterfeit marker and a unique microchip code. A bead of sweat slid down Mr. Collins's temple. As the manager of the most exclusive mall in Silverbrook, I'm sure you're far more familiar with luxury authentication than I am. He stared at the brooch, then at me. Said nothing. Adrian frowned, sensing something was off, but still unwilling to question himself. Claire Bennett, what are you trying to prove? Real or fake doesn't matter. It was found on you. Doesn't matter? I let out a short laugh and dropped the brooch onto the table with a sharp click. Mr. Collins, why don't you explain the real Heart of the Ocean should have a laser-engraved serial number inside the clasp? And at the base of the gemstone, there's a microchip so small you'd need at least a 20 times magnifier to see it. With every word, his face grew paler. Lily's expression cracked, panic creeping through the carefully maintained innocence. She turned toward Victoria, but even Victoria looked uncertain now. I straightened slowly. The restraint I had been holding back finally slipped. I was no longer the woman they thought they could humiliate. I was a Bennett. I met Mr. Collins's eyes directly. I'm giving you one chance. Use the mall's professional equipment. Authenticate it properly. Then pull the full surveillance footage from the moment I walked into the cafe until now. Every second. I paused, then delivered the final blow. Oh, and one more thing. My name is Claire Bennett. This mall was a gift from my father on my 20th birthday. I let the silence settle. Then calmly. Mr. Collins, on your boss's own property, do you really think anyone would dare frame her as a thief?